Hi, everybody. It's Rhoda again from Cigar City Tarot. And today we are on day 4 of Ethony's 31 Days of Tarot Challenge. Today, we're going to be taking a look at what tarot books did you read in 2021 and which ones would you recommend? I suppose I'll do it in more than that. But you can see I have a mountain of books. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Anyway, I could have put more out, but these are the ones that I really liked. And I'll go through each one of them. They're kind of in groups and whatnot, talking a little bit about why I'd recommend them. So I'm going to move them off to the side and then we'll go ahead and get started. I think the one thing that I need to tell you guys is that I started my tarot journey when I was in my early teens, like 13, 14, back in the mid to late 70s. And so I kind of played around with it for a couple of years and really didn't do anything with it. You know, finished school, went to college, went to graduate school, had a family, work a full-time job. And sometime last year, the tarot came calling again for me. And it's a kind of the weirdest thing, but it did. And so I ended up starting my journey and did about maybe 5 or 6 months, and then really found Ethony's site, found a Biddy Tarot site, a Dusty White site, and I am taking and have been taking classes wherever I can, just to really kind of refresh my memory, as it's been well over 40 years that I really was into it. And so these books, I acquired a lot of them in 2020 during the height of the pandemic, as well as in 2021, and get to read them as I can and as I'm going through my journey. So let me start out with these 2 books. One of the things that I am working on and wanting to do over the next several months is to start, although I do read now for friends and family and for some outsiders, you know, as the pandemic is starting to wane away, really want to get into more reading at fairs and festivals. I enjoy that atmosphere. I enjoy people stopping by. In my job now, when we were traveling, we would go to 2 off-site kind of client interactions, and I managed a booth for a software product person. So, and it was fun talking to clients, and it was interesting listening to their stories, and you know, and so I'm really working on moving down that path. As well as doing certainly in-home readings, Zoom readings, email readings, and whatnot. So with that, I found these wonderful 2 books by Jenna Maitland. Have Tarot Will Party, and then Have Tarot Will Travel. And these are excellent reads. I'd recommend them if you're interested in doing parties, or you're interested in having a booth at a craft fair, or a spiritual fair, or reading at a Ren fair. You know, I love the Renaissance festivals. So a Ren Fest is awesome. But anyway, you can see that they're well loved and read right now. And I think I've even underlined many areas where, but anyway, so it's just talking about some things that if you want to get your tarot business up and running from a how-to at a fair, things that you might not think of doing. For instance, taking a box of Kleenex, because whatever you say someone may bring up some emotional memories. And so didn't even think about that till I read this book. How to manage bookings, you know, some tips and tricks that she's had along the way. So I would highly recommend these. They're very easy read. I think each one of them is under 100 pages, or right around 100, 130 pages. And I read both of them in less than a day, over a weekend as soon as I got them. So anyway, it does give some interesting, as I said, both for going to parties, and then both for reading at festivals and whatnot. All right. The next set of books are kind of self, help as I get into it. I don't have the big book, but in terms of Biddy Tarot, I found the Intuitive Tarot book. You can see my little you know, I have things bookmarked all over my little bookworm. But it's interesting because this is taking you through 31 days of learning the tarot. And although I had a basic understanding, 40 years goes by and you forget the little nuances and whatnot. And I think I've mentioned in my other videos that I do read reversed cards. And so Biddy Tarot was one of the first comprehensive overview kind of you know, with the school and everything. I do have access to her large book. I don't have it in print. I do have it online though, in PDF. But anyway, what I found interesting with this one is it's very open and easy. So if you want to study without committing financial resources in a formalized school like Biddy's or Ethony's or Dusty's, that type of thing, or you want to just try stuff on your own and then to feel like you need a, you know, kind of a foundation, I would recommend this. It's easy to read. She does have some spreads, and each day there's an activity. And then as you get through, and again, you'll see like day 20 and the exercises, she talks about, and if you buy these books, I believe I bought them in a set of 3. One I opted just to have in PDF because it's a giant, it's her giant card meanings and whatnot, which is great. Her website also has the guide if you're looking up tarot card meanings and whatnot, if you are stuck. But it gives you exercises. I thought it was pretty in depth for not having gone to a class or attending, you know, an hour a week. But anyway, I found this very interesting, and you can keep a journal or not. I do think I have possibly, no, I don't have notes in this one. I think I dedicated an entire journal to this as I was going through. Oh, the other book I have of this series is a large workbook that kind of accompanies this so that you can, you know, each card you can draft out your own meanings as well as what's in there as you're going through readings. It really helps to widen the scope of your readings to just more than just, you know, your little white book meanings. And along that same vein, I was recommended to take a look at, well, actually, no, this particular book, as I was looking through Amazon and reading online, Eclectic Tarot was great to get some suggestion, even though it's no longer a site, it is good for research, is Who Am I, or Who Are You in the Tarot? And so this book is great. I've got certain things marked. You can see that I've put in, you know, I've started to fill out some information. So it's trying to help you figure out. Now, I am a Sagittarian, so high level, the Temperance card is what is, you know, said in the tarot to be the card for Sagittarius. But this one really goes down to your birthday, year, month, and then it goes through a series of exercises to help you learn what card is the best or that you're suited to, and who you are and why. And then again, it talks about, you know, based on, you know, meanings. So it gives you where elementally it gives you, or fundamentally, some card meanings in terms of the card itself, but in relationship to you, right, in relationship to you. And you'll see that there are, let me see if I can find that page that just went by. There are exercises here, and then it gives its own, within the book itself, some own self-reflection. So anyway, love this book. I have not gotten all the way through it. It's very intensive, and like it needs more than just 20 or 30 minutes as you go through. But again, Mary Greer, and it's the Who Are You in the Tarot. The next 2 books I like is I got my rust dusted off, if you will, are these 2 books. And Power of Tarot is recommended in the Dusty White trainings that I'm taking. And then I had seen a couple of reviews. I'll move this one over for a second. A couple of reviews on 1001 Tarot spreads. Even though I, and I'll talk about it in one of these videos, my preferred tarot spread is the Celtic Cross, and this or that, you know, beyond just the simple 3 and 4 card readings. This one, I, you know, as I go through learning, you know, to see what spreads I can have in kind of my arsenal as I run into more and more questions or situations that maybe Celtic Cross isn't exactly the right spread. Most of the time it is, but anyway, this is a great spread. And so it's laid out very well. You can see that there are 3, 4, multiple card spreads. I think there's even a 30+ card spread. But anyway, and it talks about each card position, and it lays out, shows you how to lay this out. So like this one is the pathway to justice, this one is the fortune telling oracle. So not only for tarot cards decks, but also for oracle decks. Anyway, it is a wonderful book. It's not one that I say you'd read from start to finish, but it's certainly one that you would, if you were looking for a specific spread. So like this one is combining tarot spreads and psychic powers. I do tend to be on the psychic side. I won't call myself a true psychic, but I am very intuitive and clairaudio. So anyway, interesting to take a look at, and I believe that she has them listed. The appendix is excellent. So if you are either a beginning, an advanced, or just looking to see how many tarot spreads you could possibly learn, this one is a great book, 1001 Tarot Spreads by Cassandra Eason. All right, and then the other one along that same vein in terms of kind of spreading out, and I'd said that this was recommended in the Dusty White training that I'm taking, is Power Tarot. Again, these two women go to great lengths. The first part of the book talks about, how to take care of your deck. So in some ways, it's good for beginners. What is tarot? It does give some high level background. It talks about, should I read reversed cards? And I do. Other people I know don't. What if the reading doesn't make sense? What do you need to do? So beyond just giving you spreads, it does talk about, it's in some ways a little bit like a little white book where it does give you meanings from their perspective. And then as you go through, it's all of the majors and the minor arcana. And then if you take a look at the second half of the book, so this is kind of a combo book. So one to read and learn with, and then the other part is, and they go through this in 1 card spreads, 2, 3, all the way up to, and this one is in, so this is a 23 card. I think they go even higher than 23. Let me take a look. 24 cards. So this one goes all the way up to 24 cards. So you'll find a myriad of positions, card spreads and whatnot, that if you can't seem to figure it out with the Celtic Cross or whatever your favorite spread is, or you need something more than just a 3-card past, present, future, or whatnot, this one really has a lot of good information, as well as card meanings and whatnot. So it's kind of a 2-in-1. Love this book. Trish McGregor and Phyllis Vega, Power Tarot. And let's see, I will go through this one and then the last book, but this one is Easy Tarot Reading. I also do pendulum. I've done pendulums longer than I've done tarot. As a matter of fact, I make my own pendulums. So, for divination, for dowsing and whatnot. And my, this one happens to be a resin. I do have different stones and whatnot. I'm reaching over my table. I'm sorry, you can't see it. There are crystals and stones. I believe that this is lapis lazuli, I think. And someone gifted that to me. So I make jewelry in my spare time, copious, yeah. And then I went ahead and wrapped it, and you can see that. And then I add some other dangles, and then this becomes a tarot, a pendulum. And I love the pendulums. Don't I love you, pendulum? And that is my symbol for yes. It goes in a clockwise, and some of them can be very chatty. My pendulums seem to be very chatty. That's what my friends tell me, and the people I make them for. Anyway, so when I was looking for when I was reading through pendulum stuff, I happened to come around because I wanted to say, how can I put my pendulum and tarot reading together? And I saw this book. It came up after a Google search that I did, and it's Easy Tarot Reading, but it says using pendulum for accurate tarot readings. So essentially what this, it's Dr. Wolf, Leonidas Wolf. He goes through and although I have to say it's not as in-depth as I had hoped, but he will talk a little bit about how does it work and how you use your pendulums, and you know, how to once you put your spread down. So it's talking about, you know, different meanings. Now this one is also a, hey, if I don't remember my meetings, this is kind of like some keywords that will help. But he goes through with spreads and then how to use the pendulum over it to validate that your spread is accurate and whatnot. And so these are ways that you can calibrate your pendulum. It also gives you some pendulum graphs, so you can ask questions outside of the tarot. But I thought it was a very interesting, easy read. I got done with it in a couple of hours and stuff. But if you're looking to validate or expand what you're doing, and you happen to also use a pendulum, this book I think is good to read. My last book, well, actually not my last book, but the last book for this video, I don't want to make these very long, is The History of the Occult Tarot. A very boring reading. Boring, boring, boring. However, and it's kind of like reading a textbook. However, what's interesting is I've been doing this in a group. So we're doing a book club, although I think we're on hiatus for a while. But as you're taking a look at this, it goes down the path of how the tarot, I mean, what the background history is going back for the modern. And you can see, if you can see that, I've, you know, I use my highlighter. I also do a lot of annotation going back to my college days, right? So you remember college when you had to annotate? Anyway, so it talks about the birth of the Golden Dawn, you know, which is the organization, you know, that Rider and Waite came from, and that Pamela Coleman Smith, the artist of the original 1909 and decks that we know today. And it talks a little bit about the Kabbalah, but it's really funny. It reminds me of Peyton Place, right? So it's like who begat whom, who got mad at whom, and we're talking about I think this story picks up in the 1830s, 1860s. Anyway, it just reminds me that all of the trials and tribulations and the complicated stories of relationships and jealousy and whatnot aren't unique to 2020s. It goes back to the 1800s. But anyway, it is, I have to tell you, the first several, I think I'm on chapter 6 now. I have not gotten much farther, and I started working in this book probably in September. It is tedious to get through, but it does give a lot of good information. So if you are a historical nerd, I'll say, or you really want to understand the whole background of why tarot got its reputation and whatnot from the early 1900s and to today. This is interesting of how it was used and how it was seen and how it was symbolized, you know, based on Rider-Waite, and then certainly talks about Pamela Coleman Smith. And then these, how it tries to I guess pair it up with the Kabbalah and certainly with some of the Hebrew meanings. But anyway, if you are so inclined, I'd recommend it just from knowing if you're into that kind of history, and then how it morphed away from the original tarot from the 14 and 1500s. So anyway, that is it for my favorite books and why I'd recommend them for 2021. The video went a little longer than I'd planned. Bye, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you found this video interesting. I will post the link to Ethony's site, but remember, if you want to look at what other people are doing on the individual days, it is hashtag 31 Days of Tarot, all one word. Again, Rhoda from Cigar City Tarot saying goodbye, and we'll see you on day 5.